Today, I'd like to show you how to use some of Datadesk's graphics features in interesting ways. We have data here on earthquakes around the world from 1900 to the present. I have their location, their latitude and longitude, the magnitude, and a variety of other facts about when they occurred and things like that. We could, for example, look at them. Let's grab a scatterplot out of the toolbar and put latitude on the y-axis and longitude on the x-axis. And you can see, in effect, we can see a map of the world here, with especially the areas prone to earthquakes, the edge of the Pacific Rim on North America and South America, and the rest of the Ring of Fire in Asia are there, but other places around the world where earthquakes have occurred. Now this is, in effect, a Mercator map. We've just projected everything in ordinary XY coordinates, and as a result, it's distorted. The right way to look at data like this would be to place it on a globe. Well, to do that, we're going to have to convert our latitude and longitude into polar coordinates. So I've set up some variables to do that. These are derived variables. First, we'll define phi as 90 minus latitude times pi divided by 180. Now the pi divided by 180 is to convert to radians, which is the units that Datadesk uses for its trigonometric functions. But notice also that the word pi, that pi, is interpreted by Datadesk as the constant pi. If you wanted a variable called pi, you'd have to put it in quotes, which is what you'd do anyway. We'll define theta as the longitude times pi divided by 180. And now, with those two constants defined, we can define our x, y, and z coordinates for a globe. Y will be the cosine of phi, x will be the sine of phi times the cosine of theta, and z will be the sine of phi times the sine of theta. And we could use those x, y, and z to make a rotating plot. Now, let's get these variables out of the way. I'll use the data close all variables command, just a useful way to clean up the desktop. Once you've opened a lot of variables and things are getting a little messy, we can get those out of the way. I want to make a rotating plot. I'll use the rotating plot icon here. It's over on the right of the toolbar. If you're not seeing that, make your desktop wider to expose it. So here is our rotating plot. I will choose y, x, and z in that order because that will orient my globe correctly with y going up and x going across and z going in and out. And I'll drag all three variables to the plot. I could do it one at a time if I wanted to. And here I have a rotating plot, but no, that's wrong. There's something wrong about that. I have this big egg-shaped thing, and that's not right. Now the reason that's not right is that Datadesk's rotating plot options are set for displaying data. If we open the rotating plot options, we'll see that we've centered the data at the mean of all three variables and scaled all three axes by their standard deviation. But that's not what we have here. What we have here is actual coordinates on the globe, so we'd like it centered at the origin, and we don't want to do any scaling at all. So once we do that, that looks much more like a globe, and when I rotate it, I can see that it is indeed a good globe. Let's check it out. You can, for example, let's select the Western Hemisphere. And you can see where the Western Hemisphere is on the globe. There it is, rotating bias there. It's always hard to tell whether it's in the front or not. Rotation of the Earth would be in that direction. There we go. Now we can also do things once we have our plots open. We can start using some of Datadesk's features. For example, we could assign colors according to the magnitude of the earthquake. So we'll go down here and select magnitude, and we want to modify the plot with colors, and we'd like to add colors, and generally adding by ranks works a little bit better than adding by linear index. Just gives a little bit greater distinction. If you want to see what we've done, we could take magnitudes. We could put magnitude, say, on a dot plot, and you'd see that the red are the higher magnitude earthquakes. Here they are. You can see where they occur on both maps now. I could even leave the rotating plot rotating a little bit. Let's rotate the plot, and even while it's rotating, I can find the points that are the highlighted points, the big earthquakes. I can also look at time. I have the year, the month, the day, the hour, the minute, and second, actually. So we could construct a time axis for this. What I would like to do for that is I'm going to construct a date variable. And my date variable is going to take the month and appended to that a slash, and appended to that the day, appended to that a slash, and then the year, so I can construct something that actually looks like a date, like that. Now, given a date like that, Datadesk has a year function, which will take that date and turn it into a decimal year. So here is the time in a decimal year fashion. So we can do a variety of things with that information. I could, for example, ask in a scatterplot, I could ask whether earthquakes have been getting stronger or weaker over time. I could look at earthquakes over time. Once again, everything links together. Here are the big earthquakes, here are the smaller earthquakes. I could look to see if there's a pattern over time. I could, for example, add a smoother, maybe a low S smooth. And it does seem that the frequency of earthquakes, or the magnitude of earthquakes on average, seems to be declining, but that might very well be a sampling artifact, because back in the 1900s, I doubt that the small earthquakes were recorded as well. The big ones, of course, made a lot of news, so they were recorded. So this might just be a sampling artifact. There has been a suggestion recently that some of these waves, those might show up a little bit better. Excuse me. Those might show up a little bit better if we smooth them with the true S smooth, which is a little bit more sensitive. Some of these waves, some of these fluctuations might be real. There's been an article that suggested that just recently. So let's close those up a little bit. Now, what would we like to see here? I'm gonna work with the Mercator map for a minute. Let's open that up a little. Why don't we zoom in on this map to see what else might be going on? I'm going to use the zooming tool here. This is a tool, if I place it near the center of the plot and press the mouse, the plot gets smaller. If I place it near the edges, the plot gets bigger. And what I'd like to do is zoom in. I'm going to use the hand to reposition. I want to look at the United States and zoom in on it a little bit. And let's look at these earthquakes right in the middle of the United States. That sort of thing has been making news lately. What I'll do is open my location variable. I have my date variable already open, as I recall. Check on that. I don't want my year variable open, so let's close that. What I want is the date and the location open. And now, if I click, holding Shift and Option down, I can see both variables. This is an earthquake that occurred in Cushing, Oklahoma on 11/7/2016, and the one right next to it was in Sparks, Oklahoma on 11/6/2011. Now those are sort of odd. We don't expect earthquakes there. So let's find out more about them. Having just selected these and looked at them, I can ask for a web search query. Datadesk will send that information out to the internet. I've chosen Google. And sure enough, here is an article about it. Here is the details of the 4.7 magnitude earthquake on 11/5/2011. And I can get more information. Now, there isn't going to be information out there on everything, but searching on the location and the date is a surprisingly good way to turn up information about events of note. that might occur there. By the way, the shortcuts for this, Shift and Option, hold the Shift and Option down to click on anything and any point and see what you're looking at. Hawaii might be interesting. And then Command and Shift and question mark is what you need for the web search query. Excuse me, Command and question mark is what you need for the web search query. So if I use Shift and Option to look at these guys and Command and click, why is that not working? Well, I'm not sure what I did there. Anyway, those are some things we can do with Datadesk's graphics features to learn a little bit more about data just by sort of playing with it. Sort of the fun part of doing data analysis. Thank you very much.